Alright, it's time for the solutions for the calculating perimeter using distance formula. So on this assignment, you have a shape, you need to get the perimeter of it, and you're supposed to round it to the nearest whole number. And so to do that, you're going to have to get the coordinates for each of the four corners. That's part A. So I've already have that completed on these, mostly just because I don't want you guys to just watch me write down coordinates. And actually get to the work part of this. So calculating distance D1 and D3. So since this guy is a rectangle, those distances there are actually the same. And so we need only get the distance for one of those. And let's go for getting the distance for D1. So I'm going to use 8, 8 as my x2, y2, and I'm going to use negative 3, 10 as my x1, y1. And so when I'm writing my formula here, I need to do 8 minus negative 3, because that's the x2 minus x1. And then I'm going to have 8 minus 10, that's y2 minus y1. And then you just need to keep simplifying that down. 8 minus negative 3 is 11. And then when you square that, you get 121. And 8 minus 10 is negative 2. When you square that, you get positive 4. So it's the square root of 121 plus 4, which is the square root of 125. And then, so that's the top length there. You're also supposed to get the slope. And the slope is simply the rise over the run. So when I start here at negative 310, and I go over to 8, 8, my rise, I would have to go down to, so that's the top part, and the run's how far from the left to the right, that distance is going to be 11, so the slope's negative 2 over 11. And that brings us to part C, which is getting either D2 or D4. On those, I'm just going to get D2, because D4 is the exact same, and I've already used the 8, 8, I'll use it again. It's again going to be x2 and y2. So for my little formula here, I'm going to have 8 minus the x value, which is 7. I'll need to square that. And then add 8 minus the 3, which is the y1 coordinate. Okay. And when you do 8 minus 7, you get 1. So here we're looking at 1 plus. And then 8 minus 3 is 5. And when you square that, you get 25. So we're looking at the square root of 26. And the slope, again, is the rise over the run. This time the rise is 5, because you had to go up 5 from 3 up to 8. 8 minus 3 gives you a rise. And the run's the 8 minus 7 part, which is 1. So my slope's 5. And once you have those, you're going to add up all the sides. So D1 is the square root of 125. D2 is the square root of 26. The D3 is 125, just like D1. And then D4 is square root of 26, just like D2. And when you add all that up, and you round to the nearest whole number, you're going to get about 33. And there you go. So there's the entire first one. It takes a little bit of work, it takes a bit of writing things down, but you get the hang of it after a while. Okay, so moving on to the next one. This time we have a triangle. It has 3 sides, but unfortunately all the sides are different, and so we have to get 3 side lengths and 3 slopes. So for each of these, you just gotta get the length of it. So use the 2 endpoints. I'm typically going to use the right endpoint as x2, y2, and the left one out of all these as x1, y1. And so here to get d1, I'm going to use 0 as x2 minus negative 8, and then 3 minus negative 5 in my formula, which I'm going to put right here. So I get 0 minus negative 8. And I'll need to square that. And I'm going to add 3 minus negative 5 squared. Okay. And if you 0 minus negative 8 is the same thing as 0 plus 8, that's 8. And when you square that, you get 64. So this first part is going to be 64. 3 minus negative 5 is 8, and we square that, you get 64. So you have 64 plus 64, which is 128. Alright, and once you have that, so that's the whole length there, I also need to get the slope for this side. And that's just the rise over the run. So the rise was 8, the run was 8, and that gives me 1. So the slope was 1. And that brings me to D2, which is the right side here. And I'm going to have 3, negative 9 be my x2, y2. So in my calculation here, I need to do 3 minus 0 and square that. I'm going to add negative 9 minus 3. I'll need to square that. 3 minus 0 is 3, and when you square that you get 9. So that's a part there, 9. And then negative 9 minus 3 is negative 12, and when you square that you get 144, and 144 plus 9 is going to give you the square root of 153. And now we need to get the slope. So again, that's rise over the run. The rise in this case is the negative 12, and the run's going to be 3, because you got to go right down 12, right 3, because of that, and that simplifies just to be negative 4. And that brings us to D3. So on D3, that's the bottom side here. Again, I'm going to use 3, negative 9 as my x2, y2. So my calculation, I need to do 3 minus negative 8, square that, and then I'm going to have plus negative 9 minus negative 5. Oh, this one's a little bit shorter than the other one. And when you do that, 3 minus negative 8 is the same thing as 3 plus 8, which is 11. And when you square 11, you get 121. And then we got negative 9 minus negative 5. That's the same thing as negative 9 plus 5, which is negative 4. And when you square that, you get 16. So 16 plus the 121 is going to give you 137. And the slope part of this is going to be the rise or run. So the run, that's this section right here from 8 to 3, that's 11, that goes on the bottom. And the rise is from negative 5 to 9. Negative 5 to negative 9, that's a drop of 4, so my slope is negative 4/11. And now time for part C, where we find the total perimeter. We need to take all our lengths here that we got and add those up. So we got the square root of 128 plus the square root of 153 plus the square root of 137. And that's going to give you, hold on a sec, that's going to give you about 35. So you round that, you get about 35. Alright, moving on to number 3. This guy's got 4 sides, and so you had to get all of them, and they're not the same length, so we're just going to start right here. I'm typically going to take the right one and have that be x2, y2. So on D1, we're going to get the difference in x's, so that's 7 minus negative 6. And then the y's are going to be 6 minus 3. You're going to square both of those differences. 6 minus negative 6 is 13. And if you square that, you're going to get 169. 6 minus 3 is 3. And when you square that, you get 9. So 169 plus 9 is going to give you the square root of 178. And the slope for that guy is, well, your rise is right here. That's a rise of 3. And the run's right here, that's 13. So slope 3/13. D2. Hold on. So D2 is over here on the right side. We're going to have to do 7 minus 3. And square that. Plus, and then we had to do 6 minus negative 5. Square that. And it equals, well, 7 minus 3 is 4. And when you square that, you get 16. 6 minus negative 5 is 11, and when you square that you get 121. So 121 plus the 16 is going to be the square root of 137. The slope of this guy, well, this is a run. 7 minus 3, that's the run, so that's 4, goes on bottom. The rise is 6 minus negative 5, which is 11. So slope's 11/4. And that brings us to D3. This section down here. the x's when you subtract them. So 3 minus negative 4, square that. And I'm going to add negative 5 minus negative 2. Okay, it gives you that. If you do 3 minus negative 4, you get 7. When you square that, you get 49. And then negative 5 minus negative 2 is the same thing as negative 5 plus 2, which is negative 3. And when you square that, you get 9. So you have 49 plus 9, and that's going to give you 58. So that's that one. And then finally a D4, which is this left side here. Oh wait, I didn't get the slope of that. So the slope of that line is going to be the rise of negative 3, because you had to go down 3, so you go from the left to the right. And then the run is going to be 7. Alright, so finally a D4, we need to do, let's see, the x is negative 4 minus negative 6. Square that. And then we're going to do negative 2 minus 3. Square that. If you do negative 4 minus negative 6, you're going to get the same thing as negative 4 plus 6, which is 2. And when you square that, you get 4. And then negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. Square that gives you 25. So 25 plus 4 gives you 29. And then the slope for this guy, well, the rise is right there, negative 2 minus 3, which is negative 5. And then the run is the negative 4 minus negative 6, which is 2. So we have a slope of negative 5 halves. And that brings us to the final part. We need to take all these lengths here and add them together. So we got the square root of 178 plus the square root of 137 plus the square root of 58 plus the square root of 29. And when you add those all together, you're going to get about 38. And that brings us to our last one. Hopefully we can do this in a good amount of time and not make this video too long. So D1's right here. Again, I'm going to use the right coordinates as my x2, y2. So the x's, you can get 6 minus negative 3. That's those numbers there. And we'll need to square that. And then add, well, not square root, 7 minus 3. That's the rise. And speaking of rise and run, we can actually put the slope down already. So we got slope is the rise is 4, 7 minus 3 is 4, 6 minus negative 3 is 9, so slope's 4 ninths. Let me write that a little bit smaller. Anyway, so getting back to the length part, 6 minus negative 3 is 9, when you square that you get 81, and then 7 minus 3 is 4, when you square that you get 16, so if you have 81 plus the 16 from the y part, you're going to get 97. And then D2, this is right side here. The x's, subtract them, 10 minus 6. We'll square that. And then add negative 4 minus 7. Square that. Well, 10 minus 6 is 4. When you square that, you get 16. Negative 4 minus 7 is negative 11. When you square that, you get 121. So you're going to take 121 and you're going to add that the 16. And that's going to give you 137. The slope on this guy, well, your rise right there, negative 4 minus 7 gives you negative 11, and the run was 4. And finally, a D3 is bottom side of this triangle. The x's, when you subtract them, so 10 minus negative 3, square that, and then add negative 4 minus 3, that gives you that. Okay, 10 minus negative 3 is the same thing as 13, and when you square that you get 169. And then negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. When you square that you get 49. So if you take the 49 and you add the 169, you're going to get 218. So square root of 218 is the total length. The slope is going to be this rise, which was negative 7, over the run, which was 13, so negative 7 over 13. And now our final job is add all these guys up here, so we need to do square root of 97, plus the square root of 137, plus the square root of 218, and when you plug that in, you're going to get about 36. And there you go, there's your solutions for the perimeter assignment.